Good morning. Today's three topics: Iran, the world's first trillionaire, and fatherhood. Before we get to that, though, you may have heard there's a soccer tournament going on, the World Cup. Well, it turns out it's pretty well known. 3 out of 4 voters know that the World Cup is a soccer tournament. 2/3 know what's going on right now, but they're not really paying a lot of attention. 62% of voters say they've not watched any of the World Cup. Only 11% have watched more than a game or two. But now, let's get on to more serious topics. There's a big change in perceptions on Iran, the war in Iran. Last week, I mentioned that a majority of voters were saying this thing's going to be with us for at least 6 months. About 1 out of 4 voters were saying they'll be with us for more than a year. They were thinking that come the midterms in November, we'd still be fighting in Iran. But now a plurality, 47% say, wow, now that they've announced a peace deal, we think it's likely the fighting will end soon. Only 41% disagree. What do they think of it? A lot of commentators, a lot of people on social media saying it's a bad deal. But by a 3-to-1 margin, voters are saying no. This deal will be good for America. In fact, 74% of Republicans feel that way. So do 49% of Democrats. So there's a fair degree of optimism about the way this is going to end. An even higher number, 67% say this is good news for the economy. Oh, and by the way, when we ask about the goal of the war, getting the uranium away from Iran to end its nuclear program, 53% of voters still think that's likely to happen. But let's be clear about this. It's early. We don't really know what's going to happen, but voters are responding very well to the idea that the fighting is coming to an end, very positive about it. And if, in fact, the fighting does stop soon, this is very good news for President Trump and for the Republicans heading into the midterms. Okay, last week, Elon Musk became the world's first trillionaire. Turns out 42% of voters have a favorable opinion of the world's first trillionaire, 48% unfavorable. His numbers very much like a political candidate. Republicans overwhelmingly have a favorable opinion, Democrats unfavorable. It's worth pointing out, by the way, he is much better known than congressional leaders like John Thune or Chuck Schumer or Mike Johnson. Now, when we ask about, the talking points we've been hearing from Democrats ever since this IPO took off, voters' initial reaction is, it'd be nice to take 5% of his wealth and use it to fund government programs. 61% favor that idea, 27% disagree. But it's not like a deeply felt belief. In fact, people really aren't paying that much attention. Only 15% of voters have been paying attention to that news story. And then we asked a different question. Who does more good for America? Innovators like Elon Musk or the federal government? Turns out Elon Musk and innovators come out on top. 43% of voters say that the innovators like Musk will do more for the country. 28% disagree. Republicans overwhelmingly agree with this statement. Democrats are evenly divided. So, I think there's this visceral reaction that progressive Democrats are going to have about Musk and his wealth. And people, it does sound good, but the minute you begin to put a little thought in it, you really you think the government's going to do a lot of good with that money? You think giving it to some NGO is going to do better than an innovator like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos? By the way, one other tidbit on this, only about 1 out of 3 voters are aware of one of the most significant facts about the IPO, that more than 4,000 employees became millionaires. Finally, fatherhood. In honor of Father's Day, 73% of voters nationwide tell us that being a father is the most important role a man can play in his lifetime. I have to agree with that. My children are my legacy and the greatest thing that I have ever been involved with. 56% of voters tell us that they think a child raised in a home without the father present are at a significant advantage in life. Only 23% disagree with that. Again, Republicans overwhelmingly think if you don't have a father at home, you are at a disadvantage. Democrats are evenly divided. Regardless of what you think, have a happy Father's Day, and we'll see you next week. We are not going to be doing a briefing on Juneteenth.